And this is the result. Let's A/B test this Choptones preset along with the actual Metallica recording. Hey everybody, how are you doing? My name is Riccardo Gioggi and this is the Choptones Metal Classic Volume 1 pack. This is a collection of iconic metal tones and it's meant to be used on Tone X or Amplitude 5. Today we're gonna talk about one of the most famous metal guitar tones ever. I'm about to show you how to get as close as possible to the Black Album guitar sound, just by using presets from the Choptones Metal Classic Volume 1 pack. But before I go deep into technicalities, let me show you how it sounds. What about some Enter Sandman? Alright, let me show you the rhythm guitar preset I made. I did start from this Choptones Metal Classic Volume 1 2CP, which stands for 2C+, a very famous amp from Mesa Boogie. A nice piece of information for you guys is that this is the original cabinet in this preset, which is the capture of a Mesa Boogie oversized 4x12 loaded with Celestion V30s, but I did change just the cabinet in Tone X. So I kept this amp and the cabinet comes from another Metal Classic Volume 1 preset called 59RR, this one, and of course RR stands for Randy Rhoads, and this has the very same cabinet used by Metallica in the Black Album recording, so a Marshall 1960 4x12 loaded with V30s. If we take a look to the settings, we have gain at 7, bass 8, mid almost nothing, 0.5, treble 8.5, and yeah. This is basically the sound. And the last details of the sound comes from these stock plugins. And I did a bit of research, and according to a Guitar World magazine article, the rig used for recording the Black Album rhythm guitars has been this Mesa Mark II C++, and the extra plus stands for a Mesa modification, and with 2 Aphex EQs and 1 Aphex compressor in the FX loop. And after that, another graphic EQ used for cutting down at 1.2 kHz. So I tried to replicate the very same chain, so the Tone X is the amp. As Metallica did, I allowed myself to use just 2 EQ, 1 compressor, and 1 reverb, and this is just the icing on the cake. I'll talk about this in a minute. This is the EQ, nothing extreme, just a little bump or a little cut in this area. And a graphic EQ minus 7.2 dB at 1.25 kHz and nothing more on this EQ. Then a compressor, and to be honest, this is barely audible. It just tightened up a little bit the overall sound. And the icing on the cake, I did place this reverb in a separated send, of course, and this is another stock plugin. As you can hear, especially on the Through the Never opening riff, there is a bit of room sound in it. So I did replicate it using a room reverb from this LA Studio preset, and you know, since the Black Album has been recorded in LA, why not to use a preset named LA Studio? It made sense to me, and it sounds really close to the original. And now let's take a listen to the lead tones. In the Black Album we have 2 main lead guitar tones. Kirk Hammett lead guitar tone, which is basically all all over the album, and only on the song Nothing Else Matters, we have the James Hetfield lead guitar tone, which is really something on its own in the Black Album. So let's try to replicate the sound of both of them. This is my rendition of the Kirk Hammett lead guitar tone in the song The Unforgiven. Okay, now let's take a look to the preset I did use for the Unforgiven solo. As you may already know, in the Metal Classic Volume 1 you will find Tone X presets and the correspondent Amplitude 5 presets. I decided to load the very same amp in Amplitude just to be able to use the effects. I needed light modulation, delay and a reverb. So the chain is very simple. We have a noise gate. This is the amp. The settings are pretty much at noon, as you can see. Gain at 6.7. No reverb, no compression from the amp. The cabinet is automatically loaded, so I didn't change it. Let's go to the ambience effects. We have these three effects. A chorus, which is barely audible, and the mix knob is at 9%, so it's almost nothing. And a digital delay, and very important for the lead tone in the Black Album, a reverb. I chose this plate reverb. The decay is set to 1.5 seconds, a little bit less, and a touch of pre-delay, 28 milliseconds, and no high-pass filter, and 27% mix. Okay, this is very important in order to reach the Hammett lead tone. Last but not least, let me show you how I got close to the James Hetfield lead guitar tone. And of course we are talking about the song Nothing Else Matters. Let's take a listen to it and then I'm gonna show you its preset and the settings. So for this James Hetfield solo, I stick with a Mesa, of course. This is 100% Mesa Boogie tone. And basically the settings are exactly the same as the rhythm guitar tone, with the exception of a delay that comes from this send in Cubase. That's it. Nothing more than that. Thank you so much for watching. As a massive Metallica fan, I really hope you enjoyed this video. For any information about this Metal Classic Volume 1 pack, just visit choptones.com. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. I am Riccardo Gioggi and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!